What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin Jon.
I'm Shredlord.
And we have an album review for you. So yet another one that came out on the 16th of April, which seems to be one of the busiest days in terms of releases, was the newest offering from Spectral Wound, a Diabolical Thirst. This is this band's third album. They formed in Montreal in 2015-ish. It's kind of hard to figure out when they did that, but I assume 2015 because that's right around the time their first release came out.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, bud. That's what I'm talking about.
Hold on there, Hosehead.
Hey.
All right, whoa.
Cut me off, hoser.
This comes out on Profound Lore Records and features former members and current members of Profane Order and Paroxysm. And it's kind of hard to describe this because it's definitely black metal, but it kind of is like raw black metal, but also atmospheric black metal. So I'm just going to go ahead and just call it black metal.
Hey,
I think that's a
this
safe
sounded
assumption.
a lot like black metal.
It
actually
does. And honestly, they have a fierce hard-on for old Norwegian black metal, like Dark Throne, Mayhem, Satyricon, and all the very early 90s stuff. Except, I will have to say, better produced. Everything is pretty clearly separated here. You can really make out the bass, the drums, which the drums are frantic across the board. This dude is like Marduk levels of exhaustion in terms of blast beats.
Reminds me of the guy from 1349 too. I can't remember his name, but
just lots of blast beats, lots of double time, but there's also a lot of dynamics. It isn't just a wall of blast beats and tremolo, though you do get plenty of that. This is a really interesting listen in terms of the fact that it was more melodic than I thought it'd be. There are a lot of really clever hooks throughout this album, and once you get past the screaming into a sewer drain vocals, which they really labor the reverb on them, like possibly a little bit too much, because it becomes a bit of like an indistinct shriek, and sometimes like the tremolo will be so high and there's a lot of reverb on the guitars as well.
yeah, whatever tone his voice is matches that, so it just kind of disappears.
Way to just harness that wavelength and sort of write it, but it kind of sounds like someone like, you know, finding a channel that's all static on TV and just turning the volume knob up and down. It can kind of blend in a little too much, but what really works is riffs and dynamics.
Now, a prime example of this is the song Frigid and Spellbound. It has a lot of variety as far as parts go within this song. There's even a one-time spot of an acoustic spot.
Yeah.
Love it.
It is very, very good. It almost, keyword almost, it almost feels out of place, but they do a good job of introducing it and reeling it back into the black metal because it almost sounds too pristine and too clean and too pretty to be in this.
Yeah,
but the way
tickled me right in the no-no.
Right in the no-no spot, which sometimes is a lot of fun spot.
It is, sometimes.
Yeah.
It is interesting, like it is very raw throughout, and then you get that acoustic break, which in terms of like ambience and stuff that's just like, you know, noise in the background, there really isn't much. It's mostly just done by the band. Like you have the opening section where there's a fire burning, and then at the closing of the album, the fire's still burning, possibly bigger. Might have been a church. But that dropout I thought was really cool because it really kind of like just settled it down for a second only to build it up really well. And that was something this album really did well when it came down to transitions. They knew how to build attention really well. Now, what I think is quite possibly the best song on this album is the massive track Mausoleal Drift. This is just flat out epic and evil. I love how this song builds. It starts off very slow and mid-tempo. The war drums are pounding. The armies of hell from Canada are just marching along. Doom is just coming your way. And I like how the song continuously keeps building the energy. It doesn't shift into blast beats too soon. And it keeps this steady, like, doom-laden feel. Even when the blasts come in, it still has that feel. It doesn't, like, shift modes or anything like that. It doesn't go, like, frantic and super aggressive. It stays doomy and dreary and ugly as hell. And I absolutely love this song. The way it's constructed, it's a beautiful, like, piece of songwriting.
This is the first time I personally thought in the record where it seemed a lot more dark, like, and kind of creepy. Like, they have great atmosphere. First of all, I love the production. I love the fact that you can hear...
This album is basically all atmosphere.
Yeah.
For the most part.
But I love the fact that you can hear things like guitars and drums and bass, which normally I've noticed, you know, from an outsider perspective of not really being thoroughly well versed in black metal, it's nice to be able to hear it all.
Yeah.
Elements of production in this record are what I wish were in other black metal records that I've listened to thus far.
I actually, when I started jamming this, one of the first things I said was like, holy shit, I can hear the bass.
Yep.
Like, clearly.
Yep. Which is normally not a thing at all from what I've noticed, which is fine. Yeah, but I really like this one. This had a lot of dynamic in this song.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just blast beats and tremolo, because that's really what most of this is, just blast beats and tremolo. And
there's a lot, yeah. The one thing I noticed about this whole album is, guitar-wise, these tremolo riffs. And while they use it a shit ton, they actually stayed pretty creative with it. It didn't get terribly dull. But I definitely would notice the times where they would bust out a riff and let a riff breathe, and those were some shining.
And I was surprised to find like riffy moments. Typically, when I've been reviewing black metal albums now, riffy is not something I hear a lot. So.
I mean, it depends on like the style you're listening to, but yeah, when it comes down to like bands that want like more of that giant, dreary, cold, grim, atmospheric feel, you lay on that tremolo.
True and cult, man.
True and cult. I mean. When it came down to like riffier moments, there was a little bit on Soul Destroying Black Debauchery, which, Jesus, that's a great title. But in terms of like probably the most distinctly riffy song is the last song, Diabolical Eminence, which opens up like Marduk covering Celtic Frost, which I'm reasonably sure it has to have happened by now. But
I do like the groove in that song.
Yeah.
And it's there for a minute.
It's a very old school, like almost pre-Norwegian black metal. Like, you guys were going after like that Venom and Celtic Frost feel, and it works. It's a really solid song. And I mean, throughout this, it's just layers and layers of evil, spooky atmosphere. And I think generally for most black metal, that's kind of what you're going for. And I'd say they achieved it.
Although I would state that there is less spooky atmosphere. The spooky atmosphere, in my opinion, appeared a couple times. But it did seem like it was a little almost upbeat and happy.
There are punky spots.
Which is weird.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, black metal and punk, they have an interesting relationship.
Yes.
I don't want to say happy because it wasn't that.
More high, how about this? There were more high-energy sections than maybe you would have thought.
Maybe a couple of major chords squeezed in there. Those do seem like happier chords.
Like, I think one song even had a hook, which... It goes to show how melodic it is. Like
it is. It's a weird hook. Like, I mean, I noticed it too.
Seemed like this could be like a black metal party record.
I'd party to it. We're drinking goat's blood. Let's do it.
Andrew W.
Dude, believe it or not, they did not have goat's blood at the dollar store. I looked though. I also didn't find phone chargers. That's messed up.
Wow.
That is messed up.
But I digress.
Overall, I thought this was a solid album. It'd been a kind of a minute since I had like just a straightforward, like evil sounding black metal album. I think the last one we reviewed, that For Hist one, didn't really scream evil. It was more like melancholy and somber and still riffy. This kind of had that nice evil feel to it. And I gotta say, I like the raw approach, but it's still well produced. So overall, I'm gonna give this 4 stars. I dug this. And this is honestly my first exposure to the band. I know the bands that those other guys are in, but this is one that was new to me, and I dug it. Good stuff. Definitely check it out. I strongly recommend getting it.
For me, I'm going to go ahead and give this a 3.5. I thought this was a good album as well. However, black metal can kind of be like coffee. And what I mean is all the drinkers drink it, but everybody prefers it a little bit different. And while this was still a good blend of black metal, it may not have touched upon all my favorite elements. Now, with that being said, it is a very good atmospheric black metal record. It's just, for me, there was a lot of the same techniques to create the songs, and nothing really stood out individually as much as it felt like a whole album to listen to. Nobody's going to run out and put on, throw on track 4 of that song. This is more of a whole album experience, and yeah, it's good. If atmospheric black metal is your thing, this is a solid album, solid production, with a little bit of weird variety thrown in there as well. So definitely give it a listen.
As for me, I'm going to give it a 3. Now, once again, first of all, 3 isn't bad. Being the resident, not as big black metal fan as these two and or much of our viewing community.
We're working on them.
Yeah, I'm getting there, and I did like this. In fact, when Nick messaged me this earlier in the week, I jammed it, and I said, "Oh, I liked it," and he goes, "So I'm surprised."
I was. He's growing up.
Yep, I like.
Not all the way yet.
Not all the way.
I'm in a 3T now. I did like a couple songs. That Mausoleal Drift, again, I felt like was...
Good song.
I think an epic moment of this record. And while I'll agree with Shred on the fact that this isn't necessarily something I think that you would come across and say, play track 3, because that was a banger. It is experienced better as a whole. However, in that hole...
Which hole are you talking about?
In the hole of Mausoleal Drift. That's what I'd say would be the gem for me. And like they said too, if you like atmosphere and dark tones and just kind of that creepy, kind of moist, creepy feeling that black metal gives.
It does sound like it was recorded in a damp cave.
Yeah.
And I do love moist.
Yep. Everyone loves moist. Moist.
I'm feeling slightly moist myself right now.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it. So we'll see
what the future holds.
Yeah, we'll see what the future holds for me in black metal, but I liked it.
So if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. And we're also on Patreon, so if you'd like to help us out there, check out the link below in the description. We're looking at throwing all sorts of content on there as well. Outtakes, pictures.
We've got a podcast right now.
Stuff.
It's just the few of us, but I think we're going to get some guests on sooner or later here, so you might start hearing people from bands that you like, too.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Wouldn't it?
We like bands around here.
We love bands. It's like we listen to them or something.
All the time. So with that, I thank you all very much, and we will catch you later.